In this tutorial, we're going to cover how to do a couple things. We're going to cover how to do lives. So if you have like a 1 or 2 hits and you're out, you have a couple lives to go through. We're going to cover how to do health, which is kind of like hit points or HP, so you can take a number of hits and get your life back and forth and all that. And then we'll cover how to make you temporarily invincible so you don't drain your life in a second. So to start with, we're going to start with lives, and for lives, we're going to go to we're going to create a new object, so new object right here, and let's call this health controller. You can call it anything you want, health or just invisible object or anything you want to call it. So what this is going to do is it's going to monitor our life for us, because on creation with the character, every time you create him, it'll change some stats. But this will always be on the screen, so it'll always monitor him. So we're going to add event, and we're going to go with over here where it says other, and there's a game start option. So we click on the game start, and we go over to score, and we can click on the lives and drag that in there and set lives, and we say 4. So we have 4 lives. So this invisible object won't appear on the screen, but it'll monitor our live status. So when the game starts, we'll have 4 lives. We could put this on the character, but every time the game starts or he gets created in the next level, it'll reset it to 4, and it won't quite remember the previous level as much. So it's easier if you just make a separate health controller, especially when he gets hurt and all that. So on game start, he sets his lives to 4. Now we want to be able to see his lives, so we're going to go to draw. So we're going to draw his lives on the screen. So we click draw, and on draw we have 2 different options. We can either draw lives, which is basically it puts the word lives and you can type a number, and X, Y is where they're going to put on the screen. So that's a caption, it's words. This option is draw life images. So if I drag this over, this again is X, Y, where is it going to go on the screen, and the image, you can actually draw your own little life image. So I can pick any one that I've drawn. I haven't drawn any, so I'm just going to grab the bullet and call that my life image if I want. So I'll have the bullet. And then again, the X, Y is where it's going to appear on the screen. You should probably move that to the with the camera, so when you walk off, when your camera moves, it moves with it. And that should be view, X view, and wherever you could do like plus if you want to move it a little further into the screen, and view, Y view. So that should affect when the screen moves, it moves with your character. So press OK on that. So now we have game starts, he has 4 lives, and it should draw the 4 lives on the screen. If I jump over to rooms, let's put the views back in place. So we have that on here. And let's set it to, let's go 600, 600. Alright, so now we can see that the view should move, and it should move with the lives with it. So if I press play, actually it didn't appear yet because we haven't dropped it in the room yet. So going back to the room, we have to grab our invisible object. You won't see it here, but it's right here, just no icon. It doesn't matter where you drop it in the room, you can drop it anywhere. I'm going to put it, I'll put it right there. It puts a question mark, which means there's no sprite, so I don't know what to do with this. So you won't see the question mark when you play the game. It's just signifying you have an invisible object. So now if I check mark that and press play, it pops my 4 lives on the screen. And if I walk my character over, actually I need to tell the screen to follow him also. Back to the room, views, object following is the main character. Now it should work. Alright, so he walks over, and you can see that his lives are staying in the corner of the screen because we put X view, Y view. If you didn't put the X view, Y view and just did 10 and 20 or something, when you walk over, it'll start moving it off the screen. So that should keep things in place. And again, if you wanted to offset that a little bit and put like draw lives, X view, plus 20, it'll shift it over 20, and you do plus 20 here. It should shift it, yep, over 20 and down 20. So it'll still move with the screen, but you're kind of just shifting it to where you want it to drop on the screen. So if you make a whole menu system up here, you can kind of center it to where you want it to be on that menu screen up there. So let's cancel out that. So right now we don't get hurt by the enemies, so we need to put what happens when you collide with them. So if we jump over to, let's say, the bat following, so that this particular enemy, we're going to need to put a couple things on the impact with character. So right now we have, if the expression is true, which is if he's falling in the character or the enemy, he'll squash him. If his attack or sprite index is equal to either attacks, he'll hurt him. So now we have to say otherwise. So if the character is not hurting him, then that must mean he should be hurt by the bat. So we'll drop in our brackets down here to keep things organized, and we're going to go to score and set our lives to -1 relative. So it minuses 1 every time you get hurt or every time you get hit. So it's a relative number. You don't want to set it to a certain number because it'll always stay that number. So we'll next go to pause, which is the Z's. You don't have to do this, it just pauses the game, so it's not instantly as soon as you hit the guy, like, how do I get back to the beginning? It pauses, lets the player see what just happened, that they got hit, and then it plays. And then the last thing, we're going to go to restart room, and you can have a transition effect if you want. This restarts the room, so you lose a life, it pauses the game, and then it restarts the current room. You don't want to, there's another option over here called restart game. This will reset you all the way back to level 1 basically. It restarts the entire game over. It could be if you want to restart the game once you lose all your lives, but right now we just want to restart the room. So that should work. So we'll press play, and there's one more thing I haven't adjusted yet, but you'll see how that works. So if I walk over here and hit the bat, you'll see that it loses 1 life and it stays consistent, so now we're down to 3. That's because we're not restarting the whole game. So now I swing my sword at this bat, and you see the bat got destroyed, but I still lost a life. The reason for that is this expression is true. The right attack did hit the bat and it did destroy it. And it kept going and it kept reading the code, and then it said, well, this also occurs. This one's not true and that one's not true, but this one's true. And this one is also true because I just hit the bat, so minus a life. So to fix that problem, we need to go over here to control, and this little red X will exit the event, and we'll drop it under each of these recycle bins. This way, when the game reads it, it says, if you jump on top of them, destroy it and don't read past this point. Just completely stop, don't read anymore. If you swing your sword, it'll say, well, he didn't jump on him, so I'm going to skip this whole section. If you did swing the sword, destroy it and don't read any further down this line. So the exit event basically stops the code from constantly being read, because this exception still is true. He not only hit him, but he also got hit by him. So this will fix that problem. So we do play now, and as we can see, touching him will lose a life, and swinging the sword at him will destroy the bat. And it should also affect it when you jump on him. So if I jump on the bat, boom, takes out the bat and doesn't take out a life, because it reads that event and stops before it goes all the way to the bottom. So that's how we can do lives. Let's say we go to the health controller. Now what happens when you lose all your lives? So we can add event, other, and there's another one called no more lives. So if we have no more lives left, now we can go to, under main 2, just restart the game. So this restarts the game. You have no more lives left, just start back over from the beginning. If you wanted a continuous screen or something, we'll worry about, or cover how to do different screens later. But that restarts the game. Alright, so that's how if you want to do lives, you can do this option. If you wanted to do, if you wanted to redraw your draw life signs, you could have little heads here if you wanted to, so you know which more creatively what your life count is. So that's that option. Let's cover hit points now, or HP. So with the HP option, we're not going to need, well, we'll leave the lives on there for now. On game start, we don't need the lives because we're not looking at that. We could leave the lives. We could even set them to be invisible. So if we set the lives to 4, they're still going to be there, but just don't draw the life images. So if I delete this one out, we still have 4 lives when the game starts, but we'll cover that. Let's do the HP. So we have the score. On the score section, we have health. We drop the health controller in here. Actually, cancel. The last one, we're going to draw the health. So under the draw event is draw the health. And here you get a whole bunch of numbers and a bunch of different color options. What this is saying is your 4 different points. So if you picture a rectangle, we're basically drawing a rectangle and we're going to name all the 4 points. You can put 0, 0, so that's the top left corner. And then let's say X is, let's go 100 and Y is 20. So the height is going to be 20 and the further right is going to be 100. So you're going to have a if you name all the points of the vertices in that, if you picture like a rectangle, that should draw it on the screen. The back color is what you can pick a whole bunch of colors. It's the what's underneath of the bar. In this case, we have green to red, so it'll give a color change for us. If we pick any one color, then you should see the back option. So you can pick lots of different colors for your health gauge. And we'll press OK. So we have a draw the health bar option when the game starts. And again, this is on the health controller. So whether you have lives or just health, they should be in the health controller. If we press play now, and we should see the health. Nothing affects the health though, because we haven't, actually the lives are still intact in play where it resets the game. But nothing affects the how the health drains yet. So we go to bat following. And instead of setting relative lives to 1, we're going to delete that one. And we don't need to pause the game when it gets hit this time, so we'll delete that one. And we don't need to restart the room, so we're going to reset that one also. We're still going to leave all the exit events there because we, again, don't want to lose life or hit points or health when you're actually attacking them, so those need to stay. But we're going to go to score, and we're going to set health. In this case, we're going to set the health to, I'm going to say -10. And again, relative, so you lose 10 every time you get hit. You don't just go set to -10. You need to make sure it's relative. So when you get hit by the bat, you'll lose 10 hit points. We also should probably define how many hit points you start off with. So go to health controller, and on game start, we have set lives to 4, but I'm also going to say set health to 100 HP. We don't need relative because we're just saying it's 100. Okay, so when the game starts, we'll have 100 health, and when you hit the bat, you'll have -10 because the bat will -10 every time you get hit. If we press play now, and let's say I jump on the bat, boom, it takes him out, but it doesn't minus my health. My health is still there. Also of note, when I walk over the screen, the health bar is not moving with me. Again, that's your X view, Y view, because it hasn't been set to move the screen over. So if I go back to the health controller, where you draw the health bar on the screen, we're going to want, this is a lot of typing, view, X view, you could do +0, but that doesn't really matter because it's 0. View, Y view, and here we're going to need view X view +100 and view Y view +20. Alright, so that should make the screen move with it now because we set it to the view, so it'll move with the view window at the same position it was before. And again, changing these numbers will affect how the green bar appears. If I change these to, let's say, +10 by +10, the bar is going to move further in and a little bit down so it gets smaller. So I press OK, and now let's press play. So as you can see, it moved it in 10 pixels over, 10 pixels down, and left it about 90 pixels wide this time. And when I move, it moves with me this time because I did the X view, Y view. So now if I jump on the bat, oops, Actually, if I walk into the bat, you'll see that it drains my life instantly. I'm completely drained. If I jump on him, boom. It doesn't lose any hit points, any life, because we set that to end event. But if as soon as I touch this bat, boom, I'm dead in a second. All my hit points are gone in 1 second. So we need to make sure we bounce back and make him temporarily invincible with being hurt so he doesn't lose all of his life instantly. So I can swing the sword and take the bat out, but I have no hit points left. Alright, so cancel that. We need to go to, let's see. We eventually need to go, if we want to go set the lives, what happens when the hit points drain to 0. But on the, let's see, on the, I guess, yeah, it should be on the bat following. We're going to set the hit points to relative -10, but we also need to set one more thing. We need to set a variable to, let's see, character underscore left dot. Alright, so again, this character underscore left is the character's name. So if your character is object1, then you would type object1 dot, because you're referencing what's going to affect it. If you're putting the health and the collision on your character, then you won't need to put the character dot, because it's on the object itself. If I don't put this, it will affect the bat, but if I put this, it tells me specifically that this variable will change on this object because I have a dot, or character. So we're changing, let's call it hurt. So character left is the object, and we're changing his hurt variable. And we're going to set that to true. So now he's hurt. So the hurt is true. But again, we need to, on the character, as soon as he starts, we need to tell him what his hurt variable is. So we don't need character underscore left dot hurt because we're putting it on character left. So we can just say hurt. Hurt is equal to false when the game starts. So hurt is false. But as soon as he hits the bat, now his hurt turns to true. So now we can go over to the health controller. So what happens if his health is set to true? And this gets a little more interesting. So we're going to add events step, which means it checks every step of the way. So every 30th of a second, it's going to check this. We're going to say if character left dot hurt is equal to, let's say true in this case, is equal to. So if this character, because again, we're not changing hurt on the health controller, we're changing hurt on the character, so we need to reference character dot hurt. Character's hurt is true. So what happens if it's true? We're going to start our 2 blocks, and we're going to say set character's hurt to 2. The true and false thing, by default, 0 is false and 1 is true. So if I set it to a different number, let's say 0, it turns it back to false. So I need to pick a different number besides 1 and 2. I mean 0 and 1. So I'm going to pick 2, so it doesn't reference the true and false again. It's just a third number now. It's completely different, so it's neither true or false. Because if I set it to false, what's going to happen is the bat set me back to true. If I started at false, the bat set it to true, and as soon as true occurs, that same split second, it turns it back to false. And so the bat can keep draining my life in 1 second and to be completely gone because nothing is keeping me at false. But a 2 is a random different number, so it's neither true or false, so the bat can't drain my life. And this won't repeat again, which is the problem we're going to have if we don't change that. If we set it to true, then it'll keep reading this over and over and over again, and we don't want to keep reading it. We just want to set a different number. So because we set it to a different number, we need to revert it back eventually. So I'm going to set an alarm. What the alarm's going to do, I'm going to say 30. 30 frames is about 1 second, so I'll have 1 second of invincibility. You can change that to any number you want, 60, 90, 15, whatever. That's going to be the number of how long you're invincible. And alarm 0, I'm just going to pick the name alarm 0. So press OK. So we're going to make that alarm now. So add event alarm, alarm 0. So on this step, it's going to set alarm 0, and here we're going to tell it what alarm 0 actually is. So alarm 0, we're going to say is set variable, which is character.left, hurt. We're going to set this to false. So just like he was on creation, he starts off at false. So we need to turn him back to false and press OK. So what happens, what this basically means is when he starts at false, that hits him, he turns to true, so he is hurt, true. This is turning it so it doesn't pick either or, but and then it starts the alarm. So in 1 second, alarm 0 will turn on, and once alarm 0 turns on, it sets hurt back to false, so the bat can hurt him again. Alright, so we have that set. The next step is to say, we probably want him to bounce backwards. This is kind of optional. You don't have to have the character bounce backwards, but it usually helps for emphasis to show that you just got hit. To do this, we're going to say, we're going to check. And again, what we did earlier was we set some variables. Actually, this should be inside this bracket. So we're going to say dir, which means direction. I just typed 3 letters because it was shorter than writing the whole word. We're going to check direction. If direction is equal to 0, which means we had set it to be on the left side in the movement section, on the enemy, the character movements, or enemy movements, one of the two. So direction is equal to 0. So if direction is equal to 0, and we'll start our brackets again, 2 sets of brackets, we're going to say move, jump to position, and because he's direction is 0, which means he's facing the left side, that means we want to bump him to the right. So I'm going to say 16 pixels to the right relative to where he was beforehand. So he's going to bump 16 over and press OK. I'm going to take this whole section, copy it, and paste it, and again say, actually, it's not dir, it's if character left.dir, because it's his variable, so it's character left's direction. If his direction is 0, now we're going to say if his direction is 1, so he's facing to the right direction now, then we're going to, if he's facing right, we need to bounce him left, and left is negative 16 relative. So that should set the bounce. And again, with the direction thing, we did that earlier, is basically saying that when you press the left button, it sets his direction to 0, and you press the right, it sets it to 1, so it knows, and on creation, he's set to 1 also, so it knows which direction he's facing, because we set a variable there. So when we get back to the health controller, if it's 0, then he needs to bounce one way or the other. You could also, if you wanted to, say, if the bat's direction was 0 or 1, or if the bat's sprite was facing the left, then bounce them that direction. So there's multiple ways you can code that depending on who you want to say is the reference point. So that should fix all that. And then, well, let's go play, see what happens. So we walk over to him, and if we get hit, boom, it still drains all of his life. So we missed one option somewhere. So set variable character left or 2, and the bat following, set it to true. So he's hurt, which is true, and in the health controller, if it's true, then set it to 2. And then it sets it to false. Jump on him and it works. You walk into him and it drains it. Okay, so actually it's right here. It's under the bat following. So the problem is we have an else right here. And so what's happening is it's else is always true. So it defeats the purpose of having hurt to begin with. So we need to get rid of else. We need to say if. So if character left dot hurt is equal to false. So now it's saying if he's not hurt, then hurt him. Alright, so if the character is not in hurt mode, then take 10 points away and put him in hurt mode, so turn to true. So if it's true, the next time it reads this, every time it's colliding with them, every 10th of a second or 30th of a second, it's no longer false. Now it's true that he is hurt. If it was false, it would lose 10 hit points, but now it's true. And if it's true, then this turns on because now it's true. So if this is true, then turn to 2 so nothing happens. Then set the alarm so it'll turn it back to false in 1 second. But meanwhile, it'll still bounce him back. And then when alarm 0 goes off, then he'll be hurt. Then he'll be turned back to false, so then the bat will say it's equal to false now, so I can hit him again. So we have 1 second interval. So now if I walk over to the bat, you'll see that, boom, it's bouncing the life down by 10, and it's putting a green, it's shortening the colors also. If I wanted to go back also and play with, let's say, the draw, the health, and right now it's set to none back there. If I set a black border back there, this should make it easier to see what's happening. So I walk over him. You can see now it's draining his life. Hit by hit, 1 second at a time, he's allowed to be hit until I swipe with the, actually, I'll let it go to black. So I have nothing, so there's no game over yet. He just has no life now. I can take him out and then, no, I'm fine, but I have no life. So we need to set what happens when he has no health. So we're going to go add event, other, and this is on the health controller. So what happens when he has no more health? So at no more health, we're going to say, we could either do, let's say, restart room if we wanted to, just restart the room, or we can minus a life, or we could do both, minus a life and restart the room. So I'm going to say restart the room, and since we have a life system already in place, I'm going to say set lives to -1 relative, so he has 1 less life. And the lives are invisible because we set the lives, but we never drew them on the screen. So we have 4 lives, and we have 100% health, and when he has no more lives, it restarts the game. And when he has no more health, it sets -1 life, restarts the room, until all the lives are gone. So now it should eventually restart the room and -1 life, but we're not going to see the lives change because there's no icons drawn. But there we go, it restarts. Actually, when it restarts, it doesn't actually fill his life gauge. So we need to adjust that also. So no more health, set lives -1, and restart the current room. And we need to, actually, it doesn't matter which order you put this in, but set lives, restart the room, and set health back to 100 again. So now I press play. I should probably have changed this to go a little bit faster. Boom. Actually, it still didn't do that. Let's check that again. Alright, so it looks like let's try that. Alright, so the health occurs above. So he loses a life, then he gets full health, and the room starts. It looks like if you restart the room before you switch the health, it restarts and never actually gets to read the next line of code. It's like using the stop reading code. We need to set the restore his health before the room restarts. So he walks up to the guy, and after 10 hits, eventually his life gauge will keep going down, going down, going down, and boom, the room restarts, and he gets his full health gauge back before the room restarts, and he lost a life. But we don't see our lives. If we want to see the lives, we can always go back to here and draw the lives, use the sprite icon. I'm going to use the bullet. If we use the XY position, it's not going to move with the screen, so again, X view, view, X view, view, Y view, and that should do that. However, it's going to overlap the two of them together, so we're going to have to reset where that's going to occur at. As you can see, they overlap. So I need to set this I can either draw the health bar under the lives, or I can bump the lives underneath there. I'm going to bump the lives under, it's easier. So I'm going to take the Y and say plus 20. So it bumps it down by 20. And press play. So it bumps the lives under 20. I should probably do like 25 so it's not completely touching. But if we walk over to here, you can see that I can bump into this guy. I can lose my health, and eventually I'll minus a life. Boom, so minus the life because I lost full health. Alright, that should about cover that. So we have, so far, the lives, so you can lose lives if you get touched one time, it just takes you out. We covered how to do the health gauge, so it minuses his health as he's getting hurt. And the last thing was hurt and invincible, so we made him get hurt for a period of time. And that should cover how all the health works. So you can run around your guy and you can see the life gauge. We'll cover how to do the menu system later if you wanted to have that up there, but so far it covers your health. So you can jump on the guy and nothing will happen. Boom, you don't lose any life. And the same thing with swinging your sword. You can swing the sword and you don't lose any life. And that's how that works.